Who hasn't sat in front of a screen looking at images like these, feeling completely overwhelmed, stunned into inaction? That's exactly where I was in 2015 when I accidentally caught the end of a news clip about the closure of the Hungarian border. A father stood with a war behind him, a fence in front of him, and border control filling that space with tear gas and water cannons. He held his tiny 6-week-old baby on his front. And that was the point that I realised that my previous excuses about the logistics of volunteering abroad with a young family were exactly that, excuses. I can't stop those wars. I can't stop the reasons, the natural disasters that are forcing people to have to flee their homes. I certainly can't figure out how to return one of those 65.3 million forcibly displaced people, how to get them back home. But it doesn't mean I can't do something. I can use what I have, and I can do. So I created Refuweegee. Are there any Ouija's in the room? Well, we know Tom's here. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. So a Ouija is a friendly term. Contrary to the beliefs of a 5-year-old I met recently at a school assembly, it is not a tatty or a potato. It's just a Glaswegian. I wanted to use my unequivocal trust in the city and the Ouija's within that city to create something, a warm welcome for people to arrive. It didn't come about because I studied immigration. It didn't come about because I understood the Home Office agreement to resettle 20,000 Syrian people over the next 5 years. It didn't come about because I wrote a phenomenal business plan, still don't have a business plan. And it wasn't because I secured funding to deliver my idea. I just decided to use what I had and to do. And I realised that actually my previous excuses about the logistics of volunteering abroad with that young family were actually part of my reason for doing something. They became a reason. So I started to ask. I asked people to give me things. I asked people I knew. I asked people I didn't know. I asked them to give me things, to write me letters, to get involved. And they did. Within our first month, we delivered 100 community-built welcome packs. I have no idea how we achieved that, given that when we started to gather donations, I had absolutely no connections with any of the organisations that were working with the forcibly displaced community in the city. But in a month, we delivered those first 100, and then we shared and shared and shared. We tell stories, we ask people to do actions on as many social media platforms that you can possibly remember passwords for. We are open and honest about what we share. We don't have a strategy. I kind of believe that a strategy results in quite convoluted messaging, and there are probably 101 that we could follow that would give us greater reach, but actually we're so focused on what we need people to do and what we would like people to do that we just get on with that. Doesn't mean I don't pay attention when a post reach hits that lovely 20,000 reach mark. Yeah, we pay attention, that's nice. Do we shape our next post on the last? No, because there's something else that we're focusing on. The result of that sharing and social media means that now we average around 120 welcome packs a month. So we're currently sitting at just over the 1,300 mark for delivered welcome packs across Scotland, that is, not just in Glasgow. The welcome packs contain 3 types of items. We have essential items in them, like toiletries, graphical literature, umbrellas when we have them. Then they always have an introduction to Scotland in them as well. The Iron Brew is missing from here. It's nearly always Iron Brew and Tunnock's tea cakes. We quite like to stereotype ourselves, it turns out. So they always also have a toothbrush and toothpaste. And then the final, most important to me, part of the welcome packs are handwritten welcome messages from people who are a bit more familiar with Scotland. We call them letters for the locals, and we have received them in the thousands. They range from welcome written on a post-it note right through to 10-page guidebooks about everywhere that you should visit in Scotland and how important it is that you go and see the Highlands and everywhere, all of our beautiful scenery. To give you an example, this is a letter that we received at the beginning. Hello, my dear friend. A very, very warm welcome to Scotland. I hope from the bottom of my heart that you will be happy here, that you will find kindness and generosity from everyone that you meet, and that you will feel safe and at peace here. I'm afraid it does rain quite a lot here. But when the weather is good, it can be a very beautiful little country, and I hope that you will get a chance to experience much of that beauty. I hope that you get a chance to not only learn about Scottish culture, but to share your own culture with us. The letters for the locals give everybody an opportunity to get involved. It's not about having something to give, it's not about donating money to a charity. It's about taking that time out to think about the person that is going to be reading your letter. This is another favourite from a wee boy, and we passed on one of his teddies with his letter to a 4-year-old Syrian boy who can't read the letter, doesn't speak that language, but the interpreters explained it came from somebody else in that city. Schools have been amazing and have responded brilliantly to the project, and we receive beautiful pictures and letters by the bundle every week. But more importantly, the teachers use that as an activity to get young people to engage with forcible displacement in a completely different way. We very rarely take time out to actually think about that individual. We see images, we see all of this, and it's overwhelming, and it's huge, it's too huge to comprehend. But if you're writing a letter and you're thinking about the person that's reading it, your brain engages completely differently, and so does your heart. I've got nothing to say about this letter, I just think it's beautiful, and I really wanted everybody to see it. I particularly love the wee and then hop. It's just fabulous. Good luck to the poor interpreter that is going to have to explain that. Through that small gesture of kindness, we have built connections, trust, relationships with the forcibly displaced community in the city. We work with that community. We do not do to, we do it with them. Perfect example of that is when we decided that we would take 14 recently arrived individuals to experience the real Glasgow and to come to a gig at Glasgow Barrowlands. We dragged them front and centre, dragged quite literally. And the real Glasgow that night involved somebody crowd surfing on an inflatable unicorn wearing a disco ball motorcycle helmet. It's no better introduction to our city. We've inspired local songwriters to pen original pieces of music, and last June we launched the album Flight, something that we didn't set out to do but that is a phenomenal response. We've won a few awards along the way. And on the back of those awards, well, we decided the awards are lovely, that's very nice, but actually the most important part of that is that we managed to get a group of our volunteers all kilted out in Scottish dress, and pretty surprisingly managed to convince them they would be perfectly safe carrying a knife in their sock through the streets of Glasgow. It took some serious cajoling. We produced a photography exhibition called Claiming Back the Narrative with students from the University of Edinburgh, and gave the recently arrived community the platform to share their lived experiences. We've received letters back. So we also, I knew that I would forget something about what goes in our welcome packs. We always have stamped addressed envelopes in our welcome packs, and we ask the recipient of that pack to take some time to write back to us. And we receive letters back, like this one. Hello Ben, how are you? I'm really happy to get your welcome card and the welcome pack from Refuweegee. I'm so happy to be here because there are people like you to help me. I've left my family, but I think I've found a new small family here. Thank you so much. Take care, God bless you. I can't forget this. If any time I look at the pack, I will remember you. That was from somebody from Sudan. My personal favourite letter that we received back was from a man from Libya, and it just had 3 sentences on it. I am from Libya. I live in Glasgow now. I like Glasgow. I do not like weather. This is perfect. It's a perfect letter. We can't change the world. We can't give people the fairy tale ending that we so want to and that so many of them deserve. But our small actions can have massive impact. We can change and challenge the environment that individuals are living in and make it a warm and welcoming place for them to start from. And those small actions sometimes have far, far more impact than you can imagine. Can everybody read that? No. So it says, to Refuweegee, I can only imagine what a magically beautiful gift life would be if the world was only filled with such compassionate souls. I am speechlessly heartened by such a rare and unexpected act of love and humanity in my moments of despair. I am forever indebted. Faithfully, M. So we don't do fairy tale endings, but we do really good beginnings. And who doesn't like to know that when they've just arrived somewhere, that somebody who's there before is grateful and likes to know that they're thinking about them. A box of chocolates in a hotel room when you arrive, a bunch of flowers in a new house. It's a good place to start, knowing that somebody who was there before you is thinking of you. I'm going to leave the final words to one of our letter writers and to Glasgow.